All right, recruit. Now we go deeper. You thought that first lesson was just noise? Wrong. This is where we carve it into your skull. When you let feelings dictate your actions, you turn your life into a random number generator. One day you feel strong, next day you feel off. And suddenly your entire training schedule collapses like a cheap folding chair. That's not how intelligent men operate. They build systems that function regardless of emotional weather. Rain, storm, chaos, existential crisis doesn't matter. The system runs. Here's the brutal truth. Emotions are reactive. They respond to comfort, pain, stress, and distraction. Discipline, on the other hand, is proactive. It decides in advance what will happen, then executes without asking for permission. When you wake up and say, I don't feel like going to the gym, that's not insight, that's resistance. And resistance is predictable. It shows up every time you're about to do something difficult. So why are you still acting surprised? Control of language is your first weapon. If you say, I feel unmotivated, your brain hears a justification. If you say, I train at 6 p.m., no exceptions, your brain hears an order. One creates negotiation, the other creates action. Intelligent men eliminate negotiation. They don't sit around debating with themselves like a committee of clowns. They decide once, then execute repeatedly. And let me make this crystal clear. Recruit. The barbell does not respond to emotion. It responds to physics. Gravity doesn't care about your mood. Muscle doesn't grow because you felt inspired. It grows because you applied consistent stress over time. That means showing up when you feel amazing and when you feel like absolute garbage, especially then. So if you keep saying your feelings matter in the gym, congratulations. You've just volunteered to stay average. Out here, we don't follow feelings. We override them, command them, and if necessary, ignore them completely. Stand up straight, recruit. We're dissecting that weak little phrase, I'll try, like it's a defective part, because that's exactly what it is. You think it sounds humble, maybe even responsible. Wrong. It's a linguistic escape hatch. The moment you say, I'll try, you've already built yourself a soft landing for failure. You've given yourself permission to quit without guilt. That's not effort. That's pre-approved retreat. Let me break it down so even your sleep-deprived brain gets it. I'll try contains zero commitment. It doesn't define outcome. It doesn't demand action, and it doesn't create pressure. It's vague on purpose. Your brain loves vague because vague means optional. Optional means negotiable. And negotiable means you're going to fold. The second things get uncomfortable. That's how average people talk. That's how average people stay average. Now compare that to I will. Short, sharp, no wiggle room. When you say I will train today, you've issued a command. Not a suggestion, not a maybe, a command. And here's the kicker. Your brain responds differently to commands than it does to suggestions. Commands trigger execution mode. Suggestions trigger debate. You don't want debate. Debate is where discipline goes to die. Every time you speak, you're programming yourself. That's not motivational fluff, that's behavioral conditioning. If your default language is weak, your actions will mirror that weakness. If your language is precise and decisive, your actions tighten up automatically. That's why intelligent men guard their words like ammo. They don't waste them on uncertainty. So from now on, recruit, I'll try is banned. You either say I will and back it up, or you say nothing and accept that you're not committed. But don't stand here pretending you're in the fight while whispering escape plans to yourself. That's not discipline, that's cosplay. Keep moving, recruit. Now we break down that favorite excuse of yours. I'm tired. You say it like it's a revelation, like you've uncovered some rare condition. Newsflash, soldier. Fatigue is standard issue. Everyone in this arena is tired. The difference is intelligent men don't turn it into a speech. When you say, I'm tired, you're not just describing a state, you're reinforcing it. You're stamping it into your identity for that moment. Your brain hears it and immediately starts adjusting behavior to match. Less effort, less intensity, shorter session. Maybe even abort mission entirely. Congratulations, you just downgraded your own performance with a single sentence. Here's the reality you need to accept. Your body lies to you about limits. It sends early warning signals to conserve energy, not because you're actually done. Discipline is the ability to question that signal and keep going anyway. Not recklessly, not stupidly, but deliberately. There's a difference between real injury and manufactured fatigue. Intelligent men learn that difference. Weak ones just complain about both. Also understand this, announcing your tiredness does nothing productive. It doesn't reduce the weight. It doesn't add strength. It doesn't speed recovery. All it does is shift your focus from action to discomfort. And whatever you focus on expands. Focus on fatigue. You feel more fatigue. Focus on execution. You get through the set. So what do you say instead? Nothing. Or you say, one more set. That's it. Short command. Forward motion. You don't narrate the struggle. You move through it. Because in this environment, silence plus action beats whining plus intention every single time. Final stretch, recruit. This is where weak minds try one last trick. I deserve a break. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? That's why it's dangerous. It feels justified, which makes it even more effective at derailing you. But listen carefully. Intelligent men don't let feelings decide when they rest. They let structure decide. Deserve is emotional language. It's tied to comfort, ego, and short-term relief. You had a long day? You're stressed? You did one decent set? Suddenly your brain says you've earned it. No, you haven't. You've just started. This phrase tricks you into rewarding effort instead of completion. And when you reward early, you train yourself to stop early. Real discipline works differently. Breaks are planned, scheduled, controlled. They are part of the system, not a reaction to discomfort. That's how you recover without losing momentum. But when you take breaks based on emotion, you create inconsistency. One day you push hard, next day you deserve rest, and suddenly your progress flatlines. And let's be honest, recruit, most of the time when you say I deserve a break, what you really mean is this is getting uncomfortable. That's it. You're trying to escape pressure while pretending it's a reward. That's not strategy, that's self-deception. So here's the rule. Earn first, reward later. Finish the session, hit the target, execute the plan, then and only then you recover. Not because you deserve it, but because it's part of the mission design. You want results? Stop chasing comfort. Start commanding outcomes.